concise, and accurate. This is the DBS Evening News. Here now is your presenter with the headlines.
In the headlines, the World Bank has approved new financing of $24 million for Dominica. In the news from the region, the CARICOM Impacts begins the process of developing a new regional security initiative. And internationally, Spain declares a state of emergency after a massive power cut hit large parts of the country and Portugal. The details of these stories and more coming up next.
Too often, customers are counted but not valued. Like mere numbers, statistics, transactions. But at Flow, we're prioritizing you, our valued customers who have been with us through every milestone, every moment. That's why we're putting our money where your loyalty is. Flow customers claim up to $400 in rewards for smartphones, groceries, and more when you add mobile to your current internet plan. Because loyalty isn't a one-way street. At Flow, loyalty flows both ways.
DBS News.
And welcome back. First off, the World Bank has approved a new financing of $24 million for Dominica. The funds are to strengthen domestic revenue mobilization, enhance financial sector resilience, and promote biodiversity conservation and disaster preparedness. Curtis Matthew reports.
World Bank Division Director for the Caribbean, Lilia Barunsi, says Dominica faces dual challenge of managing high disaster, vulnerability, and fiscal fragility. She says the initiative supports strategic policy reforms that are vital for building resilience, generating sustainable revenue, and promoting Dominica's extraordinary natural heritage. The World Bank says that the new development policy credit comprises an envelope of $24 million and that Dominica, known as the nature island of the Caribbean, possesses exceptional biodiversity and marine ecosystems which underpin its tourism-dependent economy. The World Bank says, however, the country's development has been set back by natural disasters and climate-related shocks such as Tropical Storm Erica in 2015 and Hurricane Maria in 2017. The International Financial Institution noted that the disasters, coupled with other shocks, have significantly weakened the country's public finances and financial system. The World Bank says, in response to these challenges, the Dominica Strengthening Fiscal and Climate Resilience Programmatic Development Policy was developed to support Dominica's reform agenda. The second pillar, the World Bank said, will support efforts to safeguard Dominica's marine ecosystems and increase climate resilience. Notably, it includes the establishment of the world's first marine protected area dedicated to sperm whales. Curtis Matthew for DBS News.
Our special thanks to Curtis Matthew for that report. The semi-final round of the 2025 DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition gets underway tomorrow. 30 students will take part in 3 rounds of competition in the semi-finals being held at the St. Alphonsus Parish Hall. Coordinator of the 2025 DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition is Kushina Joseph.
Competing in the first semi-final round is Amelia Rowe from the Benz Primary School, Kaylee Paris from the Lighthouse Christian Academy, Felicia Usab, Salisbury Primary, Amelia Debon, Roosevelt Douglas Primary School, Adele Barron, Savin-Pike Primary, Emily Prevost, Sansevere Primary, Jaid Walsh from the Berean Christian Academy, Sakina Prosper from the Convent Preparatory School, Ades John Baptist, St. Luke's Primary, and Jerlon Gregoire from the Grand Bay Primary School. Competition gets underway at 2:30 p.m. The second semi-final round takes place on Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, also at the Goodwill Parish Hall. Competing on Wednesday is Kyra Bedminster from the W.S. Stevens School, Ordella Flora, Campbell Primary, Anelia Thomas, Collie Hill Primary, Kayana Boston, St. John's Catholic Primary School, Renella Pascal, Monjon Primary, Kiara John from the Sinico Primary School, Malik Smith, Peter Savan Primary, Kira David, Ebenezer SDA Primary, and Jadon Telemark from the Newtown Primary School. Competing at the third semi-final on May 1st, 2025, we have Destiny Lewis, Temple SDA Primary, Ariane Cabon, Wesley Primary, Kaylee Bertrand from the Warner Primary School, Amali St. Rose, Massac Primary, Chloe Robert, Penville Primary, DeAndre Holder, Tebow Primary School, Shaska Frederick, Salibia Primary, Sunny Laville, Pioneer Preparatory, Michael Gregoire from the Sophia Primary, and Alia Paquette from the Mont Prosper Primary School.
Joseph also highlighted some new additions to the National Reading Competition beginning in the semi-final rounds.
This year's theme is Reading and Calypso, and at each semi-final round we will have a junior monarch contestant, either the reigning, past, or a runner-up from this year's and last year's Junior Calypso Monarch competition. The top 10 students, based on points from the semi-final round, will move on to our grand finals, which will be held on May 14th, 2025, also at the Goodwill Parish Hall. We encourage all our listeners, supporters, viewers to tune in to DBS Radio, both on our radio frequencies and social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube, to view and join and support the students as the competition continues in the 2025 DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition. We are also being graced with the presence of employees of the National Cooperative Credit Union for an initiative called NCCU Tries, and this will be NCCU Tries the DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition. So tune in to hear employees of the National Cooperative Credit Union come in and read during the breaks. They will be judged by members of the public, and 3 employees from the NCCU will move on to the finals of the competition as well.
And that was a coordinator of the 2025 DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition, Krishna Joseph. Legislation could be taken to Parliament before the end of this year in an effort to better harmonize the citizenship by investment programs in Dominica and other Caribbean states. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit last week attended the Caribbean Investment Summit 2025 in Antigua and Barbuda, which served as a platform for collaboration, knowledge exchange, and strategic partnerships aimed at advancing the CBI industry.
We had some very constructive engagements in Antigua, first among ourselves as heads, and just to say that there is very strong political will coming from every head of government with the CBI program for us to advance the provisions of the agreement that we signed. Following the agreement we signed, as you know, we appointed an interim regulatory commission, and that commission has been tasked with the drafting of the draft bills, harmonized bills, to give effect to the Independent Regulatory Commission, among many other aspects of the bill and so on. So that bill will be ready, I've been told, in the month of May, with the intention of going to Parliament before the end of 2025, all of us together, in our respective countries, going to our parliaments and to pass that legislation. And the changes to the program, we're going to have an Independent Regulatory Commission, and there will be some standardized approaches. For example, we will have the same application form. We will have a legal obligation to share information on all applicants with each other in real time, so that if somebody applies in Dominica and they get rejected, they cannot apply somewhere else. You certainly be informed of this. A number of other aspects that will certainly enhance the presence of the role of the GRCC in the due diligence processes, and also our engagement with our international partners.
Meantime, Mr. Skerrit says Caribbean leaders will engage in discussion with the United States regarding a series of tariffs which were implemented.
In respect to the tariffs, obviously, we do not export anything significant to the United States. But no doubt, if the tariffs are imposed on goods, for example, steel, eventually the price will increase in Dominica. So it is something that all of us will monitoring to see how that goes, whether there will be a reconsideration of the imposition of tariffs by the United States on countries. And of course, we continue to engage the United States of America on these tariffs. We'll be having a meeting, for example, with Secretary of State next week. And certainly this is one of the matters that we'll raise with him. So it's a matter for us to look at it. The reality is the world cannot deal with another increase in the price of goods. Already the world has been going through real challenges, the increase in goods. And again, this is where we have to start, in some cases, looking inwards on our consumption practices and habits. And we have to consume more of what we grow and more of what we produce.
Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. The family of 69-year-old Alexis Bellot of Soufriere is appealing for assistance in locating the man who has not been seen or heard from since yesterday morning. The family has organized another search mission for tomorrow morning and is calling on the public to turn out from 8 a.m. by the Sufria Primary School to assist.
My name is Dan Allen. My uncle Alexius Bellard, better known as Timna or Nap, is missing. He's missing from since yesterday morning. That was the last time that I saw him. Yes, he left home to go to his garden because he's weeding to plant. So his normal routine, he would leave after he has his breakfast and go to the garden. So that's what he did. Yeah, that's the last time we saw him at home. So tomorrow morning we're going to do another search for him. So if anybody would like to come and assist, that would be really helpful. To describe him, he's about 5'10", 5'11". He has a bald head, dark skin. He's 69 years old. He has a little belly. But the last time we saw him, he was definitely dressed and went to the farm where we found his tools and so on. So tomorrow morning, we're going to start at 8:30. So if anybody would like to assist, they can meet us near the Sufre Primary School to do so.
And that was Danma Allen, the niece of the missing man. Of course, our condolences, and of course, not condolences, but our hopeful optimism in that this man gets found. And the Dominica Citizenship by Investment Unit walked away with 2 awards during the closing ceremony of the Caribbean Investment Summit. The Caribbean Investment Summit, which was hosted in Antigua and Barbuda this year, brought together citizenship by investment programs from across the region to celebrate excellence in the industry. Dominica received the Climate Resilience Leadership Excellence Award and the Sustainable Development Impact Award in recognition of its recovery from Hurricane Maria and its Economic Diversification Fund that established a global benchmark for responsible investment. The awards ceremony was the first of its kind at the Caribbean Investment Summit and is expected to become a staple going forward. Still in the national focus, Dominica is seeking to increase its vaccination coverage, which has been on the decrease following the COVID-19 pandemic. This comes as Dominica is this week observing Vaccination Week under the theme, Your Decision Makes a Difference. Senior public health nurse for Region 2 of the primary condition is Yvonette Anatole Carbon. Speaking with DBS Talking Point this morning, they will be embarking.
Our goal is to catch up. We're campaigning this year because from the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen drop in our vaccine coverages and we have had a lot of vaccine hesitancy. So we have since moved from coverages of 90 and 95% to all the way down to the 70s. And in order for us to have that herd immunity, we need our coverages to be at least up to 95%. So for this week, within the various health districts in Dominica, we will be going around to do that catch-up campaign. They are going around on the district vehicle with a PA system, doing public sensitization and offering the vaccines to persons who are interested. The Roseau catchment area, which is one of our heaviest areas as well, most populated I should say, they will be having on the 30th of April a vaccination session at the Public Service Union building on Valley Road.
Carmen adds that visits to preschools are also amongst activities for this year's vaccination week.
Also on the 3rd of May, which is a Saturday, we do not normally open on a Saturday, but we are having that extended hour. So persons may say, I go to work, I do not get time off from work. So from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the 3rd of May, Saturday, the Fonkole Health Center will be open to provide that service. And thereafter, we will be having extended hours on Saturdays, so we will inform the general public so they can arrange. We also will be doing visits to daycares and preschools. We'll be doing house-to-house campaigns, going to people, so those who cannot come, we go to them. And sometimes even those who can come and they refuse to come, we realize it is our responsibility to go to them because it is a collective effort to keep Dominica safe.
And that was a senior public health nurse for Region 2 of the Primary Healthcare Unit, Yvonette Anatole Carbon. Still in the national focus, the Catholics are being encouraged to participate fully during the Diocese of Roseau's 175th anniversary Jubilee Triduum, a 3-day period of worship and celebration marking a major milestone in the Church's history. Speaking at a press briefing today at the Bishop's Conference Room, Chair of the Liturgy Committee for the 2025 Jubilee, Val Coffey, outlined several of the events plans for the Triduum.
The parishes are being encouraged to have Mass at 6 o'clock this evening, Saturday evening prayer, and to continue to keep the faithful alive in terms of their prayer life, and encourage people to visit the sick in the community, to visit persons that you have not seen for a while or have not been attending church. That will happen today, but also tomorrow as well. So expect to have evening prayer at 6 p.m., have Mass, and continue this sort of activities. The grand celebration culminates on Wednesday at 4:30, where we gather outside the Windsor Park at the forecourt, where we'll have a procession that will lead itself to the Our Lady of Fairhaven Cathedral, where we will have a grand Eucharistic celebration with Bishop Forbes and all the priests and deacons of the diocese, and we encourage all persons to be there. What we'll be having in procession will be each parish will be highlighted with their banner, and they're led by the priests that will form that procession with music and prayer and praise and worship that will be led by Michael Farrell and his group. So we are looking forward to the support of all Catholics to really come together as we give thanks for 175 years as a diocese. Be encouraged, be supportive, be in prayer, and be alive for Christ in 2025.
And that was the Chair of the Liturgy Committee for the 2025 Jubilee, Val Coffey, outlining several of the events planned for the Triduum. And one of Dominica's oldest living centenarians is today celebrating his 108th birthday. Asher McLaurin Timothy of Margot is the farmer who loves music and making people happy. Clarence Thomas, the grandnephew of Asher McLaurin, Timothy, says even at 108 years old, Timothy has a great memory.
Mr. Mark is a very friendly guy. He loves being around people, and he's a man that used to play his music. He loves playing guitar, he loves singing. He's just a person you could be around. Anytime you're around him for the day, you're not going to be sad. You're always going to get something to laugh about. That's the kind of man Mr. Gustus is. And another thing, he loves farming. As a man, he loves his farming. Up there, he's still talking about going down just below the house there to do his little farming, but we told him he cannot go down there. And every time we tell him he cannot go down there, he will tell you, we joking. So sometimes we do us leaving, and he want to go and check his scene. He go check his scene and come back. When he come back, he bathe and he go inside his house. He eat, and he loves his strong drink. The man that loves his alcohol. Anytime he going to eat, he must get a drink before he eats. And he still have his energy. Yesterday I bring him for lunch after church, and the amount of people that take up pictures with him and hug him, and not only the energy he has, yes, when it comes his memory, he still have a strong memory.
Grandnephew of 108-year-old Asher McLaurin Timothy of Margot, Clarence Thomas. Taking us to the end of this evening's National Focus. Up next is news from the region and international.
Too often, customers are counted but not valued. Like mere numbers, statistics, transactions. But at Flow, we're prioritizing you, our valued customers who have been with us through every milestone, every moment. That's why we're putting our money where your loyalty is. Flow customers claim up to $400 in rewards for smartphones, groceries, and more when you add mobile to your current internet plan. Because loyalty isn't a one-way street. At Flow, loyalty flows both ways.
DBS News.
And welcome back. Now news from the region. The Trinidad-based CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security Impacts says it has officially begun the process of developing a new CARICOM security strategy. According to the agency, the strategy will reflect current geopolitical realities, align with regional development priorities, and integrate emerging issues such as artificial intelligence, whilst embedding rights and responsibilities-based approaches and public health-informed frameworks. The steering committee established to guide the development of the strategy includes representatives from the 5 CARICOM member states, namely Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. Internationally, Spain has declared a state of emergency after a massive power cut hit large parts of the country and Portugal, causing widespread disruption. More than 20% of Spain's power capacity has been restored after Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said the cause of the outage is still being investigated. The Portuguese Prime Minister has said there was no indication that the power cut was caused by a cyber attack. People report driving to find open petrol stations and teaching in the dark, as in Portugal's capital, which is Lisbon. Reporters says the streets are choked with traffic and describe police officers using whistles and hand signs in place of traffic lights. This brings us to the end of this evening's news. Up next is Sports with Gavin Richards.
Covering the nation and beyond, DBS Sports Report.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, Portland and tile cement, steel rods, galvanized and fenced pipe. And Rudolph Thomas can meet all your wire needs. Galvanized roofing sheets, doors, windows, toilet sets, face basins and bidets. PVC piping, fittings and lattice. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. And Rudolph Thomas is your one-stop shop for hard-to-find items like fiberglass mat and fiberglass resin and welding rods. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Well, good evening. I'm Gavin Richards with the DBS Evening Sports Report. Let's begin with news that Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit says it is government's intention to have the lights operational at the Windsor Park by September of this year. Well, the lights have not been operational since the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017. The Prime Minister has announced that the Dominican National Lotteries will fund the rehabilitation process. He says a contract has been signed and work is expected to get underway soon.
As far as I know, the National Lotteries and the provider of the service for the lights have concluded the negotiations. They signed the contract. The contract was signed about 2 weeks ago. It is now left for the supplier to ship the components and also deal with the construction of the terminals. So that contract has been signed. And my mandate to them is that I want the lights up in September. The lights have to be up in September. It can't be after September.
And that's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Meantime, Mr. Skerrit is also reporting progress on the synthetic track for Portsmouth and says that the indoor facility, which was originally carried for stock farm, has been scaled down.
With regards to the athletics facility, our responsibility is to provide the land, to level it, and some associated works. We've acquired the land. Studies have been carried out, soil testing have been carried out on the land. The next step is to level the plot of it's 8 acres. There's an in-house estimate. I think they'll go into discussions with service providers soon on this. And my understanding is that there's a representative from World Athletics, a consultant, who will come in to look at the site and to advise on the next step. So once that consultant comes in from World Athletics, we'll certainly be able to push the project. But insofar as actions on the government, we have done that because the first action was to provide the land, and we have been able to inform them. There are many other questions we asked, and we were able to satisfy those questions. So we're well on our way towards the realization of the athletics track in Dominica. At Point Rung. Point Rung was the most suitable location for this. Regards to the indoor facility, is something that we have to revisit. We may have to scale down the design of it because part of the problem was the design was coming out to be very costly. And so I think we just have to revisit the design and do something that is fit for purpose and not this this extravagant facility that we're trying to do.
Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. In some more sports this evening, a 14-year-old has rewritten the record books, becoming the youngest player to score a century in all of T20 cricket. While playing in just his third IPL match, the Rajasthan Royals batsman Suryavanshi became the youngest centurion, getting 135 balls. It was also the second fastest century in IPL history, only Chris Gale has a faster century. Well, the Rajasthan Royals managed to chase down their target of 210 against the Gujarat Titans as they got to 212 for 2 in 15.5 overs. But at the end of the day, record-breaking performance from a 14-year-old. Let's move on to some football news now, as the Valvoline United have moved into second place in the point standings of the DFA Premier League following a crushing win over Middleham United as the Premier League continued last night, where United trounced Middleham United 7-2 to move within 4 points of the league leaders and defending champions Central Cooperative Credit Union Dubla FC. Returi Christmas, Kian Thomas and Shamaya Dangleben scored 2 goals each, while Alison Gaspar also got a goal for United. Clemson Isaac and Ryan Matthews scored for Middleham United. United, they are now sitting in second place on 12 points. Meantime, Dubla moved to 16 points as they remained undefeated with a win over Promex Harlem United. Dubla took that match at 2-0. Chiquel St. Marie and Odell Laville scored the goals for Dubla. In other football results from the weekend, Sydney Lockhart got a late goal to secure a draw for Sagico Southeast in their matchup with Petro Caribbean Point Michel. That game ended 3-3. Deron James got 2 goals and Sydney Lockhart scored for the Southeast team, while Malachi Labad, Kyle Del Sol and Daniel Jupini scored for Point Michel. In other results, Cody Coffey got a late goal in stoppage time as Connect 767 Courts Ready Cash East Central secured their first point of the season. They did so playing to a 1-1 draw with the Belfast Estate Maho Soccer Strikers. Addison James got the lone goal for Maho. The other match between the Roosevelt Skerrit Bombers and DSFC, which was scheduled for yesterday at the Benjamin's Park, where that game did not take place. In some volleyball news now, Sunrise, MCCU Sunrise, well, they secured a clean sweep over the Breakers as the KFC National Volleyball League continued on the weekend. In the men's Division 1, well, Sunrise, they got past the Breakers in straight sets, winning 25-19, 25-15 and 25-10. In the men's Division 2, Sunrise, they needed 5 sets, but they got the job done against the Breakers. They took that game 21-25, 25-23, 17-25, 25-18 and 15-10. And in the women's division, well, Sunrise, another straight sets win over the Breakers, winning that game 25-13, 25-12 and 25-10. Let's bring in some basketball news this evening. Detroit Blazers are through to the quarterfinals of the DABA's Elias Dupuy Memorial Knockout Cup. The Blazers did so, making light work out of the Division 1 side, Real-Time Ballers, last night at the Massac Indoor Facility. Blazers took the match 100-66, while Maxwell Birmingham and Lester Langley scored 27 points each for the Blazers. Dredswan Lee had 20 and Donnie Robinson 15 as well, while Akel Charles had 16, Deshaun Dennis 15, Delton Eugene 11, and Zakon Nelson 10 points for the Real-Time Ballers. The quarterfinals will get underway on Wednesday. The teams advancing to the quarterfinals are the Detroit Blazers, the Dr. Daru Prishla Sports Club Premier and Division 1 teams, the BAA Sharks, the 767 Sports Club Dominators, the Police Sports Club, the West Coast Ballers, and the Paybush Eagles. Well, like we said, the quarterfinals will get underway on Wednesday. In some cricket news, or let's I should say back to cricket news, as the Convenience Plus hitters, they picked up a come-from-behind win to take down the Kalinago Blasters as the 2024 Dominica Cricket Association NCCU Premier League got underway last weekend at the Benjamin's Park. Hitters batted first, made 161 all out. Micah Joseph got 26 and Kestrel Estradi picked up 3 for 22. Kalinago Blasters made 177 in reply. Akan Edward top scored at 51. Kimani Henry took 3 for 37 and Liam Sebastian 2 for 27. The hitters batting again were bowled out for 114. Kazimi Benjamin, he made 19. And we had Joel Dura taking 4 for 13. While the Blasters, the Kalinago team, needed just 98 runs to win, but they were bowled out for 88, with Jerry Ogis top scoring at 22. Sherwin Labasser and Sherman Bruman took 3 wickets each for the hitters. The final scores in that encounter: Convenience Plus hitters 161 and 114. The Kalinago Blasters 177 and 88 all-out hitters winning that game by 10 runs. Meantime, at the Geneva playing field, it was an easy day at the office for the Grand Bay Credit Union Colts as they picked up a comprehensive innings win over the Tremors. The Colts batted first. They made 303 all-out with Lex McGlaw getting 73, Courtney Ansem 72, Yawani Ridges 56. Tremors in their turn at the crease all out for 96 runs, with Jeremy Isaac taking 4 for 40, Lex McGlaw 3 for 19. Tremors batting a second time, they were bowled out for 136, with James getting 77. Colts won that game by an innings and 71 runs. And over at Windsor Park, where we had back-to-back half-centuries from Neo Davis as he helped the KFC Summits to first innings points over the defending champions Najiko Northern Stars. Summits batting first, 168 was their total. Neo Davis led the way with 79 and Justin Vidal got 47. We had Delani Alexander taking 5 for 51 and Gary Daniel 3 for 11. Najiko Stars in their turn at the wicket, they were dismissed for just 142, with Derwin Lewis getting 46, or that should be 48, and Kevin James 33. Jason Vidal, he picked up 6 for 60, Neo Davis 2 for 24. With a first innings lead of 26, while the Summits, they made 153 for 8 in their second innings. Neo Davis hit 51 and Daniel Dupini 50 not out. We had Cassidy LaRoque taking 3 for 26, and Vincent Lewis and Kevin James 2 wickets each for the Najiko Northern Stars, while chasing a target of 180 to win. The Najiko Northern Stars, they closed day 2 yesterday on 27 for 2, with Ethan Doctorow taking both wickets for the KFC Summits. So the scores in that game, KFC Summits 168 and 153 for 8 declared. We had Najiko Northern Stars 142 and 27 from 2. Let's hear now from the KFC Summits captain Elton Mark, who says it was a good way to open up the season.
Proud to captain Summit Sports Club. It's a good first game, I must say, from the boys. It's a pleasure to see guys putting out a performance in our first game. So I must say we had some good performances, especially with the bats. We had Neo Davis scoring back-to-back half-centuries. Daniel Dupini had another half-century in the second innings. Jason Vidal had a half-century. So his batsmen, guys, getting in and making good efforts with the bat. Definitely, I mean, we have a young team, and it's good to see young guys putting up their hand, and we can only go up from there.
And that was the KFC Summits captain Elton Mark. And we can end with some cycling news as Gidson Marius made it 2 wins in a row as he won the elite category, and it was also the first overall across the line as the Dominica Cycling Association held its 3rd road race yesterday. The race took the riders from Marbois Bar to